Have you ever met someone for a casual lunch and left knowing you would never want to actually work with them? Not because of some huge dramatic event, and not because they failed a personality test, and not even because they said anything shocking, but because of the little things. The way they treated people, the way they handled inconvenience, the way they complained, the way they spoke, the emotional heaviness they carried into every interaction without even realizing it. I was invited to a business lunch one time because a leader wanted my perspective on a potential client relationship. And honestly, at first, I thought we were just having lunch before a later meeting. Very low stakes, very casual, but within minutes, I started observing patterns. Before I had even ordered my food, this man was already complaining about the restaurant salads, and that's what I was about to order. And he was talking about how terrible they were. He was talking negatively about the menu, negative about the service. Then his order came out wrong, and the way he reacted to the waitstaff immediately caught my attention. He was impatient and dismissive and frustrated over something incredibly small in the big picture. At one point, I actually felt bad enough for the waitress that I even signed the receipt. I wrote, "Keep being awesome." That is just how uncomfortable the interaction felt. And what really got to me the most was this. Later in the lunch, this same person started complaining about people who complain all the time. And I remember thinking, wait a second, that's incongruent. The words and the behavior did not match. And after the lunch, the leader I was with asked me, "How did you catch that so fast?" And honestly, that's exactly why people hire me. Welcome back to the Kathie Owen Perspective podcast. If you're new here, my name is Kathie Owen, and this channel is all about human patterns under pressure, leadership, emotional regulation, self-leadership, workplace dynamics, nervous system awareness, and the invisible signals people send without realizing they're sending them. And if this kind of content resonates with you, make sure you like and subscribe because it helps YouTube recognize that these conversations matter. And it also helps this message reach more people who genuinely need it. Now, here's what's interesting about that lunch story. Most people would focus on the food, or the order being wrong, or whether the restaurant was good or bad. But I wasn't observing the food. I was observing the emotional patterns underneath the behavior, because small moments reveal big things. The way somebody handles a small inconvenience often tells you how they handle pressure. The way someone treats waitstaff often tells you how they treat people when there's no status attached. The way somebody speaks casually tells you a lot about their internal world. And the reason this matters so much is because people are constantly leaking information about themselves through their language, their posture, their reactions, their emotional regulation, their nervous system, their tone, their pacing, their facial expressions, their habits. Everything communicates. And most people have no idea what they're broadcasting. One thing I've noticed over the years is that people often tell on themselves through repetition, especially through complaints. Now, listen, this does not mean that people cannot have bad days or even complain. Heck, I do it too. We all have those moments where we feel overwhelmed, emotional, frustrated, tired, reactive, human. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about patterns, chronic patterns, patterns that quietly shape how people experience you, because eventually your internal state starts leaking externally. And leaders especially need to understand this. Your team feels your leadership before they consciously believe it. They feel your tension. They feel your urgency, your groundedness, your steadiness, your emotional inconsistency, your resentment, your patience, your presence. People feel all of it. And this is where self-leadership becomes so important. Because leadership is not just about managing other people. It's about managing yourself, your reactions, your habits, your focus, Your emotional regulation, your ability to stay grounded under pressure, and to tell you the truth, that is not easy, especially when emotions get involved, especially when your identity gets attached to something, especially when your children are involved. I saw this all the time and during my son's Little League years. Parents completely emotionally fused with the game, fused with the performance, fused with the outcome, fused with the identity, fused with the belonging. And you could literally watch the nervous systems of grown adults unravel over children's baseball games. Their facial expressions, the body language, the aggression, the boasting, the emotional intensity. And what's incredibly interesting to me is most of those people probably don't even remember those moments anymore. But I sure do, like it was yesterday, because emotional energy leaves impressions. And what I learned during those years was something incredibly important. If I wanted peace, I had to learn how to step back and see the bigger picture. Not because it didn't hurt, because it dang sure did. And not because I didn't care, because I definitely cared. And not because I was detached from my children, because, well, have you seen my sons? I gotta laugh. But because I realized getting emotionally consumed by the pendulum, aka the drama, only created more suffering. And this applies everywhere in life: relationships, workplaces, leadership, families, social media, politics, business. Pendulums want emotional reaction. They want attachment. They want identification. They want reactivity. And true leadership is learning how to stay aware without being consumed. That takes patience, a lot of patience. It takes endurance, a lot of endurance. It takes persistence, a lot of persistence. And honestly, sometimes it hurts. It hurts very badly because human nature wants to react. Human nature wants to defend, to control, to prove, to win, to belong, to attack back. But I have to tell you, there is incredible power in staying grounded enough to observe before reacting, not suppressing emotions and not pretending not to care, but learning how to regulate yourself enough to stay connected to reality instead of emotional chaos. That is real leadership. And one of the biggest shifts that changed my life was realizing this: not every emotional reaction deserves my full identification. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is pause long enough to zoom out and ask, will this really matter in the big picture? Not because your feelings are invalid, but because perspective creates freedom. And the leaders I trust the most are not perfect people. They're very self-aware people. They understand their energy affects others. They understand their reactions create emotional environments. They understand their language matters. They understand their posture matters. Their tone matters. Their nervous system matters. Their habits matter. Everything communicates. And the more pressure someone is under, the harder it becomes to hide who they really are. That's why I study human patterns under pressure, because pressure reveals things people don't even realize they're revealing. Woo! All right. Thank you so much for being here and for listening to this episode. If this resonated with you, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. And if you know someone who could benefit from this conversation, please share it with them. And I appreciate you being here more than you know. And I'll see you in the next episode of the Kathie Owen Perspective podcast.